welcome everybody to the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families Parent Advocate Network. We are here to help parents reunite with their children, whether it be through family court or other arbitrary means. And hopefully that we can help parents who have also suffered from discrimination and CPS seizure and wrongful removal of our children. And we are here tonight to share some information and announcements. We have a YouTube channel that you can look at. It's Coalition for Protection of Children and Families. This is our presentation, our original video slideshow. The people.
All right, nice.
And we are here to change the way that family court and the law treats families all across the nation. And there are some upcoming events that I would like to share with everybody. This is regarding Nancy Schaefer, who is forever in our hearts and minds all across the country. She spoke out and was talking about the criminal acts and trafficking, child trafficking, the CPS, what they do, and how our government is involved, and what parts of the government involved, and the lack of humanity, basically, that is occurring today. And so we are asking for families, parents, everybody, to please join us either in Georgia, where she was senator before she resigned and started exposing CPS. There's going to be a memorial for her. You can learn more at themarch.us. Ted Fogg is hosting that along with some other members there, and you are invited to join them on March 25th, 2018. For those of us who are stuck in other parts of the country, we would like to encourage you to go to your state capital attorney general office on March 25th and stand out in memory of Nancy Schaefer and her work, and talk to people about these fraudulent acts of the family court and CPS and other agents that have destroyed families across our country. We invite you also to go to Anonymous versus CPS DCS and share your own traumatic story. If you have been victimized by the Department of Child and Families or CPS, we are joining together and bringing about change all across the country.
Is that Jimmy?
And then also another one of the projects that we encourage is this: we are conducting a Twitter storm to
you want to sit here?
Defund AFCC. And
Okay.
so we are asking parents and everybody to take at least 5 minutes a week to like or tweet these hashtags. We have hashtag family rights, hashtag goodbye AFCC, hashtag family court. hashtag erase parent, hashtag deleted parent, hashtag domestic violence by proxy, hashtag I was erased, and hashtag POTUS. And you can get this and share it both on Facebook and elsewhere by going to Anonymous versus CPS DCS and clicking on the share button there. We invite everybody to join in exposing the corruption in family courts and CPS corruption and fraud committed against families across the nation. And this month is, the beginning of putting a whole bunch of pressure to get these family rights changed to protect families instead of destroying them, to take away the power that the Department of Children and Families, DHS, or AFCC, whichever name they want to use at any given point in time, which they use lots of them, but they are still the same broken system. And we're here to help encourage parents and families to fix this system. Stop the destruction of families, help resurrect our family values and support family values across the nation. So thank you for joining us tonight. And Scott Taubold is our guest speaker tonight. He has a presentation that he would like to share regarding a project of very great importance to the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families and the Parent Advocate Network to provide sanctuary to families in this country who are citizens of this country and to those who are immigrants to this country who are being persecuted wrongfully by the Department of Children and Families, CPS, and Family Court. And without further ado, I give you the floor, Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hello, Scott? Uh-oh. Oh my, I think his screen froze up all of a sudden. Well, while we are waiting, Kelly has some wonderful news that she would like to share with us tonight regarding her appeal in Supreme Court, in the appeal Supreme Court. So without further ado, Kelly, would you like to share a little bit?
Sure. I would like to share that on last Tuesday we had the Supreme Court. Well, actually,
No,
we had the appeal.
Missouri State.
Missouri State Appeal Court.
And we had been praying for good things to come out of that.
Right. And I didn't go, but my lawyer did, and they said that they were that the court went well, and they think that the judges have been understanding about what the
judge did.
Yeah. Okay. The judge understood about what happened and all that in the case, and so they thought that the parents shouldn't have their rights taken away because they thought it was wrong and everything for what the other judge did. And so right now they're waiting to either decide or go to the Missouri courts.
Missouri Supreme
Courts. Yeah, Missouri Supreme Courts. And so
right now
right now we're
right now we're waiting, but she said the things went well, but since it's we're bringing in the Constitution and the ADA, that she was trying to convince them that the Court of Appeals was really out of the jurisdiction of that decision,
right.
and she was wanting to have it go ahead and go to the Missouri Supreme Court where it could be decided more under the rules that are governing it.
Right.
So it looks hopeful, but we don't know yet. We just,
I think it.
yeah,
I think it's still helpful.
yeah.
That
Oh,
we're-
yeah.
Thank you,
So
Marge.
I was
Thank you,
pleased to
Kelly.
find out that the judges in this Supreme and in this appeals case were against taking away the rights of parents. So that made me feel hopeful because I was worried that we were going to end up being with some more judges that were in cahoots with this other judge.
But they're not. Thank God.
Well, and that's a good positive step in the right direction. And it's good to hear that there are still some judges out there who actually care for
Right.
parents, for families' rights, for citizens' rights, and don't want to toe the line, so to
The
speak.
other thing the judge or our attorney said is that the attorney for the other side, it was not the DFS attorney, but okay, the whole transcript would have been over 3 days of court hearings and all that. And so all she had to decide on what should be done is having read the transcript. So in this case, there are too many ins and outs and curves that she didn't feel like our attorney didn't feel like she had a good handle on what the real situation was. So she wasn't as assertive as maybe the DFS attorney would have been.
Right. Right.
All right. And you're going to be following up this week with your attorneys and making sure that they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's, right?
Right. Right. Yes. Yep.
Oh, I wanted to tell you about a baby taken away because mom's disabled. And I was gonna send this to you because it says
Like,
okay, this one here.
Kind of show it like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And let me read this part.
There you go.
Okay, basically why this case is important. In a move that could have far-reaching effects for the estimated 4.1 million parents in the United States who have disabilities, the Department of Justice and the Department of Health and Human Services jointly issued a strongly worded rebuke to the Massachusetts Department of Children and Family Services, accusing them of violating the rights of a parent with mild intellectual disability. It's a landmark case because it's the first time that they have taken a case like this, and was very strongly, and as I was going to send this article, but I wanted you to know that this is important that people read to, okay.
All right. Can you give a site address for everybody? Can
What?
you give us a site address for that article?
Oh, okay, this was from the Daily Beast. It says www.thedailybeast.com. Articles 210-2015. Baby taken away because
Is it
mom
slash article?
What?
Is it a slash article?
What?
How does the address look on?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's this.
www.thedailybeast.com/articles/2015/02/10/baby taken away because mom's disabled.
Slash baby taken
Did I need to go
away.
slower?
I'm trying to get it all. Baby taken away.
Because mom's disabled, in quotes.
Okay, I don't know if I got that all, but I'm gonna put it on the screen and you can review it.
Okay.
Right there,
www.thedailybeast.com/articles/2015/ yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
As I say, it's okay. The other thing that I would like to share is that Okay, when people read the articles about cases, I think that it's important that they learn to look for decisions that have been made that would be like their case. Also, it would be good to note, for instance, any names that come up that might be people that you get in contact with. So when you take a case, when you take something like this, you think about your case, and then you decide what's important to you that might help your case, and then you note that. So that this isn't a just read, this is a learn situation.
Great. Thank you so much, Marge, for sharing that. That's great news. And I hope that other parents will be able to find some information to help their own cases regarding that.
Okay, I was wondering how we can, disabilities, I was wondering how we can direct people to articles about disability, because DFS sort of like centers on this people with a disabled, and they tear them apart, they belittle them, and I was wondering how we can focus this so that disabilities is a section of CPS fights, because I think the disabled people are having trouble understanding their rights.
Right, and I agree with that. And so what I would like to propose is on the coalitionforprotection.com webpage, there is a specific page that is for parents with disabilities that we have added a lot of information about the laws and protections and regulations in federal court. And so I think that this would be a great place for us to put a section for parents to see, you know, the specific cases that they can cite in defense and of bringing their children home.
Okay.
And so if you want to put together a list of articles you think would be relevant, and we could start working on putting that on the site, just send me an email message through coalitionforprotection@gmail.com. You can
Okay.
also do it even here on the site when you go to contact us, which is under About Us. You click down below About Us, and there's the button for Contact Us. And this is our contact form. You can also use this form to become an online parent advocate. We are relaunching the on-call service that we provide at the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families. We will be relaunching that. I'm going to be doing a video on how parent advocates log in and become available for parents who come to the site and ask for assistance. Right now, there's a lot of confusion on Facebook. Parents are asking for help and they are not getting correct information from parent advocates. And
Okay. On that, I was wondering if there's, okay, you told me about the coalition of site, but I was wondering if somehow that could be emphasized. This is where you go to find more articles that could possibly help you. And so that everybody who comes to any website knows that the coalition is the place where all articles are being sent.
right. So, and on the Facebook page, which you participate in and provide a lot of information, that one group we have is the Parents with Disabilities group. And we can bring people in through that. There's also other ways that we can work to promote and direct parents to the right places on the Coalition for Protection website to provide them with the step-by-step information they will need to protect themselves from civil rights violations for any number of reasons. And
Okay, on that website, could it be headed that this is pointing out that this is a site that specifically holds much information on CPS interest? I mean, something like that. Okay, I'm losing my train of thought. Okay, basically, can you make it so that people, when they go to that site, notice that it's a resource site and has many articles that aren't on other sites?
yes, we
Something
can.
like that. Just
Absolutely.
a bit of it.
Absolutely. This is, again, a work in progress, and all this information we can definitely put in there. There is an unlimited amount of space on the website, and when we get the information that we want to provide for parents that they're not going to get on Facebook, they're not going to get on Twitter, because these social media moguls are starting to shut this information down for whatever reasons, and I'm not going to go into suspect.
I saw that.
But what we want to do with the Coalition for Protection of Children and Families is make sure that whatever information we are providing on the site is actually going to be helpful.
Right.
And not just more of the same old stuff.
Okay,
And
there was a article you just had up that also needs to be, I would prefer that on that article it also be noted that that is the direction of the Department of the Department of Justice and the Department of Health and Human Services, and it is what ADA says they must follow. It tells ways in which things they must say. For instance, if you're appearing in court, in order for the evidence to be factual, you must actually observe the person doing the act to see whether or not they can do it. You
right.
don't just say they can't do it. And there are several other things in there that are covered, but it should be pointed out that that is something that is a rule, it's a law, it's the ADA, but it's structured so that the CPS is given specific things they must do and what the court must do in order for things to be valid.
Okay. I appreciate that contribution, Marge, and I will definitely work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help.
And I want you to know, and everybody to know, that the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families is not just to help parents who are fighting for their families through the family court CPS cases, but also the greater goals that, of building our communities, building our sanctuaries, building places where parents can learn and become self-sustainable, become better parents, working also with laws and regulations to provide more family-oriented programs to keep families together. There's actually new legislation, Family First brought in legislation where there's now more money provided by the federal government to assist families staying together instead of
Right.
separating them. And
Right.
and these are some of the things that we want to provide the services for, because just because the law says, well, this money is available, if the services are still the same as they are today, what already is the mechanism of this system, then how are we going to be able to be sure that that same mechanism is going to provide education and resources to keep families together. And so we want to make sure that really is the case, that law actually gets upheld, and
Okay.
the services are actually provided.
Would
I'm
it be possible to make, I know I know what you're saying, but would it be possible to sort of like make an outline of your objectives and just put it on that website so people know what this site is going to do for them? I mean, would that be a possibility?
It would, yes, ma'am. Now that I have moved, I can spend much more time getting this more organized. We have this team right here of you.
Oh, life is better, right?
Life is excellent. We have you ladies, we have Scott, we have Dale, we have Tom, we have other parent advocates across the country. Not all of them can make these meetings. We have our family rights meeting that we do tomorrow night, and we will be expanding on that as well. So, I mean, yes, this is a work in progress, and I really appreciate everything that you do and all the information that you share, Marge and Kelly, both of you. And yeah, we're going to make this really poppin' here soon. And without
I'm seeing a lot of people that are, okay, there's a question I have that maybe you or somebody else can answer. Why is it that people give up about getting their kids if they've been adopted, and if they were forced adoption and children were taken illegally? Why? I don't think people understand, but I don't think they should consider that the end. I mean, if it's unlawful, then something should be done. And I don't, I mean, I feel like I want to tell people don't give up because you're in a situation that's illegal. But I don't know. I guess I need more information on what the law actually says, and I need more information on why nothing is being said about the fact that people who are involved with forced adoption are giving up. I mean, it's like, okay, that's it. That's not really it. And you've got to give hope to people. And I don't think we're doing that. I mean, because I don't think we know for sure, and we're not unified on what's true and what isn't. And so because of that, we're not encouraging these people to go a different route and just saying, well, my child was taken so many years ago. And I'm thinking, okay, it's taken so many years ago. Why do you think that's the end of the story?
Well, I could comment on that. Having been around the system and seeing parents give up, usually the parents are struggling with drugs and alcohol. And as strong as the bond is with their children, and I mean, I see people just suffer terribly because, they're addicted to drugs or whatever, and they may have disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this learned helplessness kind of thing that happens when you're working with the legal system that's so intimidating. So I think it is a task that we should take on. A big part of what we should do to instill hope and to encourage people and to inform them of their rights and get them to, I mean, if they need to kick drugs, they kick the drugs, but stay in the fight and don't give up.
Okay, but okay, go ahead. I was going to say on that, the people have to know that there is hope because of this and this and this. You can't tell them that this is hope and you give up your drugs and all that. That's fine. But what for? If they don't know that they can go ahead and there's a possibility they can fight to give their children back. What steps do they take?
well, and
What laws do they follow?
That's our job.
That's
Right,
part of our job here, is to put that together. That's right. And there are programs all across the country that are small right now, but one of the projects that we want to provide and work towards is creating more rehab centers where families can stay together while the parents are going through rehabilitation. whether
Uh,
it be drugs or disabilities, that they're having a hard time struggling with the ability to recover from their disability because they're new parents at the same time. I mean, that happens as well. And you know, also providing places for families to stay together that are facing starvation and homelessness, and you know, it doesn't have anything to do with drugs or alcohol. It has to do with the environmental factors or the economic factors.
has to do with CPS and being
And
involved
yeah,
in their life.
well, exactly. But you know, and so this is where we are working to put together this plan, and that's part of what Scott has some information about that he
Okay.
wanted to share tonight.
Okay.
And then Dale also has some information.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to take up your time. I just,
Oh,
No.
no, I apologize again. You know, it's such a large area, you know, like we just touched on, there are so many different types of support that need to be provided to parents and everything. It's hard for me to just give a presentation unless I break it down into smaller
I
pieces of,
agree.
you know, I mean, because we've got rehabs with families, we've got instilling hope in people and these communities we're going to build. And I have the tools to do a lot of that, but just to lay it all out in a presentation is rather difficult.
Well, I think on this matter of, I think somehow this is one of the most important things to do because of the fact of that people are committing suicide. They feel like their whole world is ended, and I think that they have to know a path to follow. They have to be given a path to follow to say, okay, they've been adopted, and just to emphasize that that is not the end. These are the steps you can take to possibly get your children back. You have to do some of the research on your own, but if you keep asking and you keep looking for answers, you'll find them with determination. And I hate seeing these people. I mean, it just, all these people don't have to suffer that much if they just, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I feel like they really need some support in where to go and what steps to follow, and just to be constantly emphasized that because your child was adopted forcefully, because your rights were taken away wrongfully, that this is not the end, and don't stop there.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right, Marge. And you know, don't stop at any point in fighting for your children because they are worth it. And Scott touches on the rehab programs, and parents becoming clean and sober is one of those things that is a constant and vigilant practice. And you know, even when faced with the fact that your child is adopted, if you keep on the path of staying clean and sober, you still have the ability to get your children back. There are laws and regulations in the federal Supreme Court that surpass and are the law of the country at this time.
So
At this time.
Lyra, you mentioned a meeting tomorrow night,
Yes, there we
and
have.
how is that going to be different than this meeting?
Well, that meeting is we're right now as the Family Rights Party, which is different from the Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families entirely, although they work together in a lot of areas. We are looking at building the Family Rights Party up in California, being able to get delegates throughout California to participate in city council meetings, city council,
Right, right.
getting involved in
Okay.
local stuff. And so
Yeah,
this,
I see what.
yeah,
Yeah, I see what the difference is. Then it's quite different.
it
So
is.
are you,
So I would like to, at some point, you know, break down to when, I don't know how we're going to do the nuts and bolts of putting together some of these pieces of the stuff that we're talking about here. I guess it'll be at this meeting then, huh?
Well,
Yeah, I'm
could
sorry.
it possibly be that, okay, first of all, if you outline what goals you accomplish, and for instance, if on this last part, if you just go through and take the steps, write down the steps that you think need to be done in order to put that into effect, and just take each individual part separately and do that separately, do they think that maybe help and that would kind of guide you?
Yeah, starting with the first step. Yeah, you're right. And just really figuring out what those steps are going to be.
Right, and then
What
put down,
order they need to be done, right?
yeah, put down the title of each part you want to cover, like the rehabs. Okay, then under the rehab, you would put, okay, the things we want to accomplish under rehab. And you have to figure out what things you need to do. So you focus on one part, you kind of dig around as much as you can to find out what you want to do, and then you go to a second section.
Right.
You focus
Yeah.
on one thing and your mind is not going in opposite directions.
So
Yeah.
what I've written here is we're putting a list together, types of programs we wish to work on to support families throughout
Right,
the entire process.
right. So then you put down the main heading of where you want to go, and then after you do all that, you look over the list and you say, okay, which of these should we do first? And maybe you could break it into parts where different people worked on a different section and found what they could, and then come
Right.
back together and put it together. So it's not up to just one person to do it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like what we need to do. You know, I haven't heard from the spiritual guy at all.
Dale.
I'd really like maybe if he could weigh in.
Please do. Here, let me unmute you. There you go.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, there's you have to go back to some history to understand what's happening in the breakdown of our institutions and our support systems. And it's basically what's happening to mental health out of expediency to balance a budget. They have made just impulsive moves to say they come up with these clever notions, particularly with letting mental health, people that are mentally ill, if they're no harm to themselves or anybody else, then they just shut down the mental institutions and put them out in the street. So what's happening? What's happening in our society? This maturing process that other cultures that are older have gone through is a case where this is the first time that we've been faced with absolute bankruptcy as a nation, and so then it becomes our leaders prioritize things, and the expedient thing that's being done here is the jurisprudence of having your rights adjudicated through the Constitution have been sidestepped because now it's executive privilege and administrative law, okay, out of expediency. And there's an old adage that says, if there's no solution, there's no problem. So everybody's doing things impulsively and irrationally, and nobody's rights are being attended to. So this is a process we're going to say, well, democracy. There's a lot of conversation about democracy and capitalism cannot exist in the same space. You can't have a social compact with people and have a profit-based system that is strictly based on money. And so money has won the day. The ayes have it, and we've got a bunch of billionaires in the White House, and this has been an orchestration that's been taking place for over 40 or 50 years. And so now the chickens are come home to roost. And what's missing is if we were a small cohesive community, we would just our left and right hands would be our government, and we would extend the help to one another. But we're fragmented and disconnected, and the skill sets that we would have normally had in a culture that is based on a real education, we would. The best example that I have is my grandmother during the Depression. One of the neighborhood kids, their parents weren't able to take care of the child, and my grandmother just adopted him. Okay, because it was an inclusive culture that everybody depended on one another and took care of each other. And it's a rugged individualism, a Darwinian notion that's it's misplaced, and this idea that the strong survive, and so everybody's crying out, well, we want to get rid of bullies, but if that rationale continues, well, the bully is the bully. He's the winner, and the losers are the weak. So we have a full blown everything that's happened is because we have agreed to it, and evil happens not because bad people do things, but because good people do nothing. And there's a complacency built into this individualism where all I have to do is be concerned about myself. I have it's freedom without any responsibility. So all these factors in our culture have led to this breakdown, and so now what we have to do is reconstruct that social order that has nothing to do with government, that compact between individuals, and that happens on a small community basis, and you got to do it one community at a time, and this is where the essence of community organizing. That for all intents and purposes, we have to look at each other and say, well, the government doesn't exist. And where it does exist, it does more harm than help. So we have to depend on each other, okay, and common sense. And it's a heck of a blow and a heck of a shock when we have to run around and depend on something besides our ATM cards and a dollar bill. We haven't been trained to think. There was somebody, I forget who, said that education is not just about learning how to work, it's about learning how to live. And that component has been taken out of the mix because the whole focus is learn something that will make you money. That's
Consumerism,
what all about.
capitalism.
Money.
Yep.
Money.
We're really on the same page, sir. I just have to comment briefly here that, the last thing with mental health is I was there when they contracted out all the services and so we weren't government employees. They took it away from us and contracted out. But what that does is it's given us an opportunity to do what you're saying, to get back to the grassroots community. And this was what Lyra and I were talking about initially, and part of why these steps, we need to form as a part of building this community up from the ground. And that's the very same vision I think that we all share.
So in the midst of this, it's the paradox is that we do have a constitution and we do have a framework, and we have to do everything we can to use that to get to protect our rights. And we're ultimately, I think the solution to this from a legal standpoint is just a massive nationwide class action suit against these criminal acts, and hold every judge accountable. and every prosecutor. And it's just like it's like a war crimes tribunal, you know, and then work in the political process to make sure that those people that are holding office are dedicated to protecting individual constitutional rights and particularly the rights of families. And it's we have a tremendous, you know, we didn't get in this hole in an instant, and you know, we're not going to get out of it in an instant either, you know.
And the reason that I am sharing this particular post here is because this is what Anonymous is doing. Anonymous versus CPS is collecting stories of civil rights violations in CPS and DCSF cases all across the nation. They have attorneys that are going to be working all across the nation for us. The testimonials need to include information that is private information about your case and what civil rights violations have been incurred. And so we have a secure email that you can send your message to, your information to. You just go to Anonymous versus CPS DCS and send an email, and you click that button, and that will take you to a secure email address that has been provided through Op Expose CPS for parents who have been experiencing civil rights violations and discriminations against them by the department, and judges that are involved and attorneys that are involved, and all of the players that have been instrumental in destroying families all over the nation. So thank you very much, Dale, for spreading the light.
Yeah, it's a very, very complex problem, and it has to be broken up and put back together again. And really, it's a social, it's a culturally a cultural disease, because we, in essence, I love the minimalists, because we have to go back to that thing where we stop loving things and using people to loving people and using things. We are the most important thing, and people are the most important thing, and everything else around us was put together to serve the people. And it's not serving us, as we bought off on some notions that are really you know, facetious.
Material.
Yeah, yeah, so everything has to take its course, and so everything that we thought we wanted, well, we're finding out, well, that isn't really what we want. We want to be happy. We want to be free. We want to be secure and safe, and we want that for our neighbors too.
We want community. We want
yes.
community.
I have a question about that, Lyra. So, you know, I'm trying to think here how to take the small picture and make it the big picture. You know, it's like we're going to come up with these steps in building a community. And so are we going to do that in Fort Bragg and then go to the party to help spread it nationwide? Or are we going to just hope that this grows?
I think it's going to be dependent, honestly. I mean, you know, Kelly and her mother are in Missouri, and so they, you know, would like to be able to have something happen there. But I think that when we put it together here on the Parent Advocate Network, and we're talking about these steps that we're going to be providing people with on the coalition website and so forth, we're doing that as well as doing something in real time. Dale
Right.
has already started.
I was gonna mention something here, because this is really clear about leadership. And I'm a big fan of Buckminster Fuller, and I think that he hit on the magic potion. He said, you can't change anything by fighting the existing reality. If you want to change something, build a better model that makes the old model obsolete. So each individual community has its own gestalt, its own connections, its own flavor, you know, so we have to do this simultaneously, concurrently,
Yeah.
everyone.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we can take a napkin sketch and then adopt it to each individual community. Now, what are we doing? We're not following leaders. We're trying and searching and trying to discover what is the best idea and solution.
In each
Not a,
individual area, because they are different.
Right. So I think that what we can do is begin to come up with a blueprint, although it's going to be a loose blueprint that each community is going to be able to fit into their own culture, you know, all
yes,
their little cultural differences.
perfect.
They have to do that. But so we try to come up with our own thing, but make it broad and open enough that they can be taken to different communities. But I guess the steps will be the same in trying to build this whole thing nationwide, you know?
Yeah, building individuals, building families, and building communities. You know, so it starts with the individual, and so what we have to do. It doesn't matter where we do it. We have to get one working model, and
Right.
then that we're the airplane. You know, it's like two aeronautical engineers. They have the idea in their head, and they're trying to communicate it to everybody. And nobody understands what they're talking about. But once they build the airplane and
Right.
get it flying, they say, "Yeah, okay." And so getting that first model, you know, getting
Mhm.
that in the laboratory and getting it function and getting all the pieces to work together, and then you're going to have a Ford and a Dodge and a
Right.
Chrysler and a Mercedes and
And a
all the
Subaru. I got a new Subaru.
But
yeah.
with
So
as we do it, I think with maximum transparency, you know, we'll be making the information available to others who want, you know, to follow. I mean, I don't know that we need to complete the prototype, you know,
yeah,
first. Although I get what you're saying, we may end up having to do that. But
yeah.
hopefully,
Just so they can look at it, and the analogy I have is, you know, if you've got an old rotary phone and you're really happy with that rotary phone, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up and says, "Well, I think this iPhone's a little better deal," uh, then they get rid of the old ideas and
right.
abandon them right now. So
Mhm.
we have to build a model, and so let's get all the creative minds together to build this model in one place. It doesn't matter where it is,
No.
just pick a
Yeah.
place and get it working and get it functioning. And I would say that what we would have, basically the problems exist are coming from bankruptcy and shortage of money, and a fear and anxiety of not having enough military protection to protect the country in the midst of all this insanity.
And
So
loss of power.
yeah, well, you know, the $700 billion defense budget went through Congress like a greased pig. You know, and somehow we can't get a dollar together to educate our kids, or house our elderly, or do all the things that. Well, we just have to forget about that. Well, that's a nice that rolls off your tongue real quick, but the consequences are horrific and
Yeah.
catastrophic. So
Marge wants to say something. I apologize, Dale.
no, no,
Go ahead.
no.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me unmute you, Marge. I did. Go
Oh,
for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
basically, I understand what you're saying. I'm hearing that we need to figure out what we want to do, what we want to change, but I haven't heard a goal. I haven't heard a goal of what your final end is, because I feel like unless you have a goal that you're working toward, you're going to be going down a bunch of different paths. And so if you centered on what's the main thing that you want to accomplish, is it reunification among the groups? Is it what are you focusing?
Okay, here's something that you can it might put your teeth into. Okay, and particularly in the case of the handicapped parent. Okay, what? And this is a proposal. I'm not saying it's going to be workable. We have to, where there is a deficiency on the part of a parent with a child, then we have to institute some kind of a life coach in that environment, so that the state looks, not that the life coach is in control. There, it's just like a support system. Okay, you run your home, your house, your family, but there's some component there that says, well, there's a little bit of a difficulty somewhere that is able to help you find a solution for that particular thing. So when a governing agency comes in, there's no apparent threat or perceived threat that is acted on, because law enforcement officers only have one tool, and that's well, okay, we'll take the kids and put them in a place that we think safe, because we don't understand. They're not psychiatrists, they're not psychologists, they're law enforcement officers, and they're sent out to do a job they're not equipped to do, and so we have to create the social structure, okay, where and you can take all the social sciences, and part of that curriculum is they have to do so many hours of community service. So let's say Scott is a team leader in the university, as a university professor, and he's got a classroom full of sociology students, and he says, okay, we're going to adopt one family, and part of the community service would take one student, would be on the property 24 hours a day, and now the whole class would put the family under the microscope and see how can we help this family develop the skills to manage their lives, the kids' lives, the kids manage their life. It's a support system which doesn't exist now, that we have to create.
Yeah, what we're doing here is we're talking about our goal being, we want to provide services to keep families together, to maintain the family structure, to strengthen the family structure, and to help those families that have been torn apart become whole again. Those are the main goals, and there's a lot of other goals that we could talk about, but
the goal
utopia.
Let me finish this real quick and I'll let everybody speak.
sure.
The goal, when I mentioned, we have to build individuals, we have to build families, and we have to build communities. That means we have to get in the nuts and bolts of everything that's going on, the food, the shelter, the schooling. And I said, I just not too long ago had a free lecture from an MIT professor on algorithms. Now that teacher can teach 500,000 people with no charge. So it's everything that has to do with life. It's education, and it's life skills, it's creative skills, it's learning how to flourish. Okay.
Yeah.
There are no mistakes about when you say handicapped is vague and ambiguous, and it means nothing. Okay, because I know there are people. Yeah, excuse me.
Okay, I have a question. When you say handicapped, not all people who are handicapped are incapable of taking care of themselves and learning how to lead a full life. And so I feel that if you're going to go, it would seem to me better that those who are challenged, and maybe learning challenged or something like that, were approached that way, and not to call them handicapped, because even though people don't have the same ability that we do because of something in their body or their mind, they still can lead a fruitful life. And I think that we need to know, okay, if you're going to go that route, what do the people with disabilities really need? And you go to their source. ask the people with disabilities, what would you like to see done? Okay, if you're trying to structure a family, then okay, what's your family going to be? What family are your hopes for your, what types of things do you hope to accomplish?
I'd like to say, you know, what Lyra stated as goals, I thought was probably very good, you know, for a start. But really, what we're talking about is so much more.
It
You know,
is, absolutely.
we're talking about almost a utopian society where community, I mean, people are functioning in the community, like the example that was given of during the Depression, where the woman took in a child in need as one of her own. You know, and I mean, if we, by example, can live that way, then we can bring a sense of community to people who don't even have problems with CPS. We can make a better community, and I think that's probably the larger goal.
Yes.
You know, but I like what Lyra said as far as, you know, reasonable goals to put objectives to, you know, as a way of moving forward. But what we're talking about is huge.
It
It's
is
just huge.
That's why we need to break it down into parts.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
One step at a time.
Yep.
Yes.
And
And I think that's what Lyra's doing.
And what I wanted to bring to this as well is, as far as people who have handicaps, I believe that society is handicapped, and society
Oh,
suffers
yeah.
from a very enormous handicap, and it's called social amnesia or psychological amnesia. And we're stuck in this traumatic situation and exposed to trauma every day in news, radio, print, whatever. And that causes our lower brain functioning to trigger and become that which is the only function that we are capable of. And it is hard for people to extract themselves out of that fight or flight mode when they're constantly being bombarded by trauma from everywhere. And so that's just my little 2 cents there. Kelly, yes.
Okay, what? Okay, okay. Something bothers me. Okay, I'm not totally disabled. I do have I do have dyslexia. I do have aphasia. I do have a vision problem too. But I'm not handicapped. I can do a lot of things. I may learn. I have some learning disabilities, but I may learn slow. But I still know how to take and do it a lot than everybody else does too. But well,
Yeah.
instead of saying handicapped, why can't we all say either disabled or disabilities? Because not everybody. Hold on. Not everybody is disabled like me, and I know there's other people that are not disabled either. So
Kelly, you know, one thing about words is you have to use words that everybody understands the same thing. What I'm saying is everybody has a potential and a capacity.
right.
And the main thing that we have to do as people is make sure all of your capacities are fulfilled to their maximum, that you're doing everything that you can do. And that's not a disabled and it's not a handicap. That should be the norm.
That's the ability in the disability.
So when I said, the first thing I said is handicap is a big and ambiguous word that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I started my statement like that because Mother Nature has a way of creating all kinds of disparities between individual capacities. Okay, that's normal. Okay, and the normal thing, the healthy thing, is just the wise help the unwise, the strong help the weak, and we all live together and be happy. Okay, happiness is the measure. Okay, so what our job is to make everybody happy with whoever you are, whatever your capacities are, and
Yeah.
everybody has value. Okay, I don't care, and so
Yeah, I hate to see anybody get hung up on a word.
yeah.
I see that all the time in the political climate that we're in. But yeah, I mean, but I appreciate you, Marge and Kelly, for expressing what you did about that. I feel really privileged to be able to work with all you people. I always feel really good when I do this meeting. I've only done a couple, but I do feel really good about it. But, you know, I'm sorry if I started late, and I'm going to have to leave here in a few minutes. I'm getting pretty tired. I don't know what time it is back there, but
Well, Scott, we're just going to keep working on this.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, we're just going to keep working on it, working on it, working on it, and we're going to get a group of people around it that all feel the same way, and then we're going to put something together someplace. Okay, we don't know where that is going to be. Okay, but we're gonna put something together, and we're going to set an example, lead by example, and say, okay, this is what works. And
Yeah.
what it's going to do is it's going to be people that are self-sufficient and they have a cohesive alliance, and they don't need government. And everybody in that community is taken care of.
And
Is-
everybody supports everybody. The weak support, I mean, the strong support the weak, but the weak can also support the strong, because nobody is
Yeah.
really weak.
Even
That's
though
just
the
it.
words strong and weak,
Yeah.
really, okay, it just means whoever you are as a person, however life created you and made you alive.
You have value and worth.
That's your passport.
That
You
made
don't have to justify anything to anybody, okay? And that's a creation that goes beyond mortal capacity to even understand. All we do is appreciate that gift of life, and so we're talking about changing the world, changing the way we think, changing the way we behave. This is a evolutionary process, and you
It
know.
starts with families. It starts
It,
with the individual and the family.
Yeah, you're right about that.
so
Well,
we
so
got.
like I said, I really appreciate you folks a lot, but I've got to go, and I
Okay,
wish
well,
you all
listen.
good.
Hopefully, we'll see you next week, Scott. We just got to keep at
Yeah.
this.
Thank
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
for joining us tonight, Scott. I really appreciate you joining. And, you know,
And I'll be on time next time. I just tried something tonight, but it didn't work, and so I'm going to be here on time.
Okay. Me too.
Okay.
excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen.
Good night.
Good
Keep the
night,
faith.
Scott.
Love everybody. We'll see you next week. See you, Lyra. See you,
And
Kelly.
I want to encourage everybody to talk and share. This video will be published, and I will send you the link for it on Facebook. And just encourage people. This is very multi-layered. Absolutely. We're not quite there at the framework yet. This is where we want to be. We're looking to bring people in who want to put a real focused intent and energy towards creating communities, building communities without government involvement, providing sanctuary for families in distress, and helping humanity to be
Amen
restored.
to that.
So
Amen.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, good night, y'all.
Okay. Good night, y'all. See you,
Good
Scott.
night.
Bye, Kelly. Bye, Marge. See ya.
Bye, Kelly.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Marge. Bye, Lyra.
Have
Okay.
a good night, Kelly, Marge.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye, Dale.
Bye.
Thank you for joining tonight.
Bye.
Bye.